Tonight, unconfirmed number of people killed in an airstrike on Tudumbiri village in a Gabi local government area of Kaduna State. As residents put the figure at over 85, the state government says the army has claimed responsibility for the incident. Federal government clears the air on controversy surrounding number of Nigeria's delegates to the ongoing COP28 in Dubai. Says government-funded team is 422 and not 1,411 as was indicated. And countries to the climate summit agree to action the loss and damage fund with an initial trickle of over $655 million so far.
On business news tonight, Nigeria's trade rises significantly to about 1.89 trillion naira in the third quarter of this year as the country's export outpaces imports.
On sports news tonight, nighttime African champions, the Super Falcons of Nigeria, promises to return home with the 2024 Women African Cup of Nations ticket in Praia, Cape Verde, when they face the host on Tuesday, enjoying a 5-0 goal advantage.
And from Abuja, gender rights advocates call on authorities to enhance funding to effectively tackle the persistent challenge of gender-based violence in the country.
And in international news from London, the Israeli military says it's expanding its ground operation into all areas of the Gaza Strip following the resumption of fighting on Friday.
A people devastated, a community in mourning. That's the story of Tudumbiri village in a Gabi local government area of Kaduna State, where scores of people were reported killed in an airstrike carried out by the Nigerian army. The incident, which the army has described as accidental, was said to have occurred around 9 p.m. on Sunday when the villagers gathered for the Maulud celebration. A source in the community puts the death toll at over 85, while 66 others who sustained injuries are being treated at the Barao Diko Teaching Hospital.
After the unfortunate incidents, a total number of 66 patients were brought to us, to this hospital, with varied degrees of injuries. Right? Some are very severe, while some are mild and could be treated on outpatient and then they can go. As it is now, we are still assessing them. Some are already in the theater. We are going to assess the extent of injuries, right? Some have very blunt abdominal injuries. Some have lacerating abdominal injuries with so much massive bleeding. Some have some very bad fractures, right? Some have certain other injuries that we are going to assess. Some have been taken to the theater.
Meanwhile, it was the state's Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, Mr. Samuel Arawan, after a Security Council meeting, who had earlier revealed that the army had taken responsibility for the strike. The meeting, which was chaired by the Deputy Governor, Dr. Hadiza Balarabe, was attended by heads of security agencies, religious leaders, and traditional rulers. According to Mr. Arawan, the army troops were on a routine mission against terrorists in the area when the strike occurred.
The Kaduna State government this morning has received briefings on Sunday night attack, which left several citizens dead and others injured at Tudumbiri in Igabi local government area of Kaduna State. In the meeting, which was presided by Her Excellency, the Deputy Governor, Dr. Hadiza Sabwa Balarabe, which had in attendance heads of security agencies, religious and traditional leaders. The Nigerian army explained the circumstances which led to the unfortunate and unintended attack. The GOC 1 Division, Nigerian Army, Major General V.U. Okoro, explained that the Nigerian Army was on a routine mission against terrorists But unfortunately, some members of the Tudumbiri community were affected. Search and rescue efforts are still ongoing as dozens of injured victims have been evacuated to Barrow Diko Teaching Hospital by the government. Like I explained to you, the search and rescue efforts are still ongoing. We will communicate to members of the press further development as we receive. We are sad by this unfortunate incident, and Kaduna State government, under the leadership of Senator Obasani, has condoled members of the entire community.
Meanwhile, representatives of Tudumbiri village, who are also at the meeting, say the government has apologized over the incident. They are, however, demanding compensation.
Well, actually accepted that this is an act of God. So we actually believe that it's not a deliberate incident. When such incident happens, definitely you will not see people. You will not see people. Even before these incidents, a lot of the villagers have fled because of this bandit issue. So it's not a situation that people are fleeing right now. Even before this time, they've been fleeing. So it's the issue of these bandits. We have appealed to the government to see to that, to assist the people in that regard.
In the meantime, Governor Obasani has ordered an investigation into the deadly military airstrike in the state. In the statement which he issued to condole with the people of Tudumbiri community, Governor Sani explains that his administration is determined to prevent a repeat of the incident. He gave the assurance that the security and protection of the people remain priority in the sustained fight against terrorists, bandits, and other criminal elements in the state. He promised that the Kaduna state government will be responsible for the treatment of the injured and related logistics, just as he appealed to the affected community and everyone in the state to be calm and continue to support the security forces in the battle against terrorism. Away from security now, the federal government has been reacting to the controversy surrounding the number of Nigerian delegates attending the ongoing climate summit in Dubai. In a statement, the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mr. Mohammed Idris, explains that out of the over 1,400 Nigerian delegation, those funded by the federal government are 422, adding that Nigeria's representation is very much in line with the country's status as Africa's leading sovereign voice and player in climate action. A breakdown of the federal government-funded delegates, according to the minister, comprises the National Council on Climate Change, which has 32 delegates, Federal Ministry of Environment with 34, all ministries with 167, Presidency with 67 delegates, Office of the Vice President with 9, National Assembly 40, and federal parastatals and agencies with 73. Meanwhile, the Minister of Environment, Mr. Balarabe Lawal, has also been providing further clarification, saying that some of the 1,411 red participants from the country are not in Dubai. Mr. Lawal spoke to our environment correspondent, Ayola Kasim.
I saw the figures. The figure for ministry, I just laughed. With the number they have given to us, they will come with a quarter of that. Look, I know what people that mentioned are not here. So many people that mentioned are not here. So I think that, when you see a story coming out, the first you are going to assess the story is on the basis of what is the truth behind the story. Because I can tell you that I have seen more than 50 names that they put in that story that did not even come here. Those are the things that don't even get. So this is another investor. All right, this one must be that. This one must be that. So we can have the figure of the government, which I think we can get from the the focal person, the climate change. But the figure is far, far below what they're talking about. The figure is far, far below what they're talking about. In fact, the number of Nigerians that I hear are mainly from the private sector. And I think we should encourage them to come. But the issue is that you are allowed to engage in negotiation, whether you are giving or you are taking. That's the fight.
And staying with the COP28, which has indeed kicked off on a high, with countries agreeing to action the Loss and Damage Fund, with an initial trickle of $655.9 million going to the bucket so far. Well, this is considered a positive start to a steep climb, but estimates of total global costs of loss and damage by 2050 range from $500 billion to $4 trillion. However, comments by the COP presidency that seem to cast doubt on the scientific basis for a fossil fuel phase-out dampened the talks, which many insist must be accompanied with a deal among countries to phase out the world's use of fossil fuels. Our environment correspondent Ayala Kasim reports from Dubai.
We have also mobilized over $57 billion in new pledges and commitments only in the first 4 days. $30 billion in a new custom-tailored UAE catalytic fund, $725 million for loss and damage.
Shaking off the criticisms, the COP president ruled off some of the successes for the first 4 days of the meeting. He's particularly pained by media reports, which he says are undermining the COP presidency's efforts.
Let me just add this. I know that there are strong views among some parties about the phase down or phase out of fossil fuels. And allow me to say this again. This is the first presidency ever to actively call on parties to come forward with language on all fossil fuels for the negotiated text. I can't not be clear about it. I am quite surprised with the constant and repeated attempts to undermine the work of the COP28 presidency and the attempts to undermine the message that we keep repeating when it comes to how much we respect the science and how we ensured that the science is what dictates our strategy for our strategic imperatives and the objectives we want to deliver at COP28.
But many are not excited about the successes he has listed. They say we have been on this road before when pledges were made but actions were neglected. And the action they want to see now is having a strong text in the negotiation documents.
To this, we would urge caution, because these pledges are not necessarily additional. And this is of vital importance to understand, because in some cases, the funds that are being announced to go to loss and damage are effectively being taken away from funding that might go for climate adaptation, for instance, or wider development finance objectives and the SDGs. This is unacceptable, given the commitment historically that climate finance be additional.
Accessing the limited funds by vulnerable groups have been a difficult task. The loss and damage concerns still remain over the fund's regulations and the decision to put the World Bank in charge of operating it, with some observers worry we end up benefiting rich donors.
Knowing the antecedents of some of these banks or some of these organizations, it is going to be very difficult for a grassroots organization to be able to access this fund, and that is our own challenge. But like I said, African women do not want the issues of loss and damage funds to be loans. They want it to come in grant form.
A report released on Monday estimated that emerging markets and developing countries will need $2.4 trillion a year in investment to cap emissions and adapt to the challenges posed by climate change. Eyes are now on the negotiating document to see how it will help resolve this issue. From the venue of COP28 in Dubai, Ayala Kasim, Channels Television News.
Well, in part two, after the break, we have more on the COP28 Climate Summit with our environment correspondent Ayala Kasim live from Dubai. Plus, the House of Representatives promises to review the Fiscal Responsibility Act to improve access to information and public consultation during the budget cycle. That's in a moment. Please join us again. Well, if you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, coming to you live from Channels Television Lagos. Here's a reminder of our top stories. Unconfirmed number of people killed in an airstrike on Tudumbiri village in a Gabi local government area of Kaduna State. A resident put to death toll at over 85. As state government says the army has claimed responsibility for the incident. Federal government clears the air on controversy surrounding the number of Nigeria's delegates to the ongoing COP28 in Dubai. Says government-funded team is 422 and not 1,411, as was indicated. Countries of the climate summit agreed to action the loss and damage fund with an initial trickle of over $655 million so far. And the Israeli military says it is expanding its ground operation into all areas of the Gaza Strip following the resumption of fighting on Friday. Well, quite an eventful past few days it has been at the COP28 Climate Summit in Dubai. Now, for the latest on the discussions and perhaps possible resolutions by nations and world leaders in attendance, we're joined by our environment correspondent, Ayala Kasim, who's been covering the meetings. She joins us live from Dubai. Well, Ayala, it's good to have you on the news at 10. Can you tell us what's the latest from the COP28 Climate Summit?
Well, today we saw the IG of police here, and many were wondering, okay, what has police got to do with it? So we launched the new Nigeria Police Green Initiative. Well, unofficially, because it said it's going to be launched next year, January 2024, January. So we saw that happening. We saw that happen today at the Nigerian Pavilion there today in Dubai at the COP28, which was really exciting. Of course, there's so many other things too that happened today here at the COP. Today is gender, finance, trade, and accountability day. So we saw Hillary Clinton also talking about the importance of helping women and girls to deal with the impact of climate change. We saw that happened today because of gender, because of it being a gender day. Each day has their own focus. So we saw that. Actually, I should say yesterday, because it was yesterday here in Dubai. We are now in a new day in Dubai. So then that was what happened on Monday here. And then we had the European Union too saying that they're seeking to build consensus on phasing out fossil fuel. But of course, they are seeking support from other continents. But Africans are saying that you need to fulfill your promises, the pledges that you made in the past years, this time, so that we can move forward. So that's what is stalling what we've heard is stalling the negotiations at this moment.
Well, there you have it. Our environment correspondent, Ayala Kasim, joining us live from Dubai. I understand it's way past 1 a.m. there. Well, thank you very much, Ayala. And please get back to us when you have more. Well, let's now bring you more back home, this time at the National Assembly, where the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Mr. Abbas Tajuddin, says the House will review the Fiscal Responsibility Act 2007 to improve access to information and public consultation during all phases of the budget cycle. The Speaker stated this during a town hall organized by the House to collate citizens' input into the 2024 budget process. Our National Assembly correspondent, Terry Kumi, reports.
As the budget defense process commences, the House of Representatives holds a first-of-its-kind citizens' town hall to gather input for the 2024 budget. This comes a week after the House held a similar engagement with chairman and deputy chairman of the committees.
In exercising its powers of coordinating the appropriation process, the committee will always maintain an open-door policy to accommodate the interests of stakeholders in making the process more credible, people-oriented, and veritable instrument toward good governance.
Citizens have not had it this bad in recent times, so the expectation is that the National Assembly will do a very good job of trimming out the wastages. I think part of the problem with our national budget is that there are repetitions of wastages year in, year out.
The focus will be on strategic investment in defense, strategic investment in security, health, job creation, poverty reduction, food security, infrastructure development, and education, among other key factors.
A former appropriations chairman of the Senate emphasizes the power of the purse bestowed on the National Assembly.
When you hear people saying padding is an embarrassment language, the executive led by Mr. President, in that section 81, stated that the president will bring forth estimates. What we have now is estimates of 2024 provision budget. The National Assembly, in their hearts, will give the Nigerian public, will give the president, everybody, the budget of the Federation.
The event is declared open by the Speaker as he harps on the importance of sustaining the initiative.
The House of Representatives has taken the lead in facilitating greater citizens' participation in budget process, and I challenge all MDAs to do the same. On our part, the House will review the Fiscal Responsibility Act 2007 to strengthen existing provisions, to improve access to information and public consultation during all phases of the budget. Specifically, we'll amend the FRA to require and define public participation explicitly in any budget engagements.
The House believes that this town hall meeting will help understand the needs of citizens better as it hopes to pass a people-centric budget in the coming weeks. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, the 2023 presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, has faulted a 15 billion naira allocation for the construction of a new residence for the vice president. The former Anambra State governor stated this in a post on X, formerly Twitter, today, while asking what has gone wrong with the country. The post reads in part, "We need leaders who show compassion and are willing to sacrifice for common progress and development. Such compassionate and frugal leaders are critical in our journey to the new Nigeria." He describes the development as shocking and disheartening, as according to him, only recently the sum of 2.5 billion naira was included in the supplementary budget for the renovation of the vice president's residence, also in Abuja. Now, for more on the news at 10, let's head over to our Abuja studio where Markwe Ogu Yusuf is sitting by. Hello, Markwe. Always great to see you.
Hello, Kade. Indeed, as Ayola did point out, it's Gender Day, and gender rights advocates are calling authorities to enhance funding to effectively address the persistent challenge of gender-based violence. They want specific budget allocations independently identified within relevant ministries, departments, and agencies at both the federal and subnational levels in Nigeria. This formed the core of discussions during the unveiling of the Womanity Index report of subnationals here in the FCT. Our correspondent, Dele Omoyeni, reports.
The 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, which began on the 25th of November, will run until December the 10th, 2023. And stakeholders at this event, including the wives of state governors, civil society organizations, and the media, have come together to reflect on the key issues. The convener of the event highlights a major issue impeding the fight against GBV.
One key thing that has come out of this is the fact that even though there are allocations to the Ministry of Women Affairs, by the time we calculate that per capita of the female population in that state, it is not sufficient for those budgets to be able to address GBV prevention and response for each woman. So what that means is that there should be increased budgetary allocation to the Ministry of Women Affairs, which is the primary ministry in charge of GBV prevention and response, as well as other ministries like the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Justice.
Participants also list some of the focus areas imperative to ensuring a sustained fight against GBV.
So I think take home is from all the various indices.
the laws, the policies, the indices regarding the numbers that you require to service a state. So now we're looking at how many SAC centers do you need per the population. So when you look at that, if we can come to an agreement about how many SAC centers you need per population, that would really assist us in the states.
Collaboration, synergy, important thing in learning. If you look at the report where you've done badly, pick up and bridge the gaps. So they were looking at things that must be proactively taken. We're looking at situations where we don't say, oh, we're carrying last or we're first. We're looking at the best practices.
But what we need to do is to continue to increase the level of training for middle-level officers. We also need to empower our female officers to take the front role in strategies that are designed to actually counter gender-based violence.
The report is then launched. Another key issue that's come up at these events is the fact that organizations, especially security agencies, must have female desk officers at their organizations where women can report issues around gender-based violence. Daily Omoyeni, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, the United Nations women have described gender-based violence and inequality as major contributors to the increasing poverty rate in Nigeria. The UN Women Representative to Nigeria and ECOWAS, Beatrice Eyong, believes that until gender inequality as well as violence against women and girls are addressed, sustainable development will be difficult to achieve in the country. She made the assertion during the 2023 UN Women Nigeria Media Partners Conference here in Abuja. Still to come on the news at 10, Nigeria's trade surplus jumped significantly to about 1.89 trillion naira in the third quarter of this year as the country's exports outpaces imports. That's some business news. Do join us again. Welcome back to the news at 10. In other news, the National Agency on Food, Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, has sealed a facility in Abuja for housing unregistered drugs. The building was sealed during an enforcement operation in parts of the nation's capital. The leader of the enforcement team, Mr. Tamu Muna Basa, was the deputy director in charge of investigation and enforcement directorate at the agency, says the agency is working to eliminate expired medical products, illicit drugs, and unwholesome foods in the country. Our correspondent Victoria Longjohn reports.
Officials of the Investigation and Enforcement Unit of the National Agency on Food, Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, make their first stop at a warehouse in the Wuse area of the nation's capital. The team swings into action, checking the authenticity of the drugs at the facility, and makes a discovery.
During the search, we were able to recover some of the Schedule 1 narcotic drugs, even those that are not registered by the agency, and others unregistered products that we were able to gather from these premises. Schedule 1 narcotic drugs are drugs that are controlled drugs meant only to be purchased by the Federal Ministry of Health in every country. It is the Federal Ministry of Health, that means the federal government of Nigeria, that has the sole responsibility of purchasing Schedule 1 narcotic drugs. All other health institutions in the country are to go to Federal Ministry of Health and purchase their Schedule 1 narcotic drug for the needs of their patients.
Over 10 cartons of the counterfeit drugs are then confiscated, and the warehouse is then locked up. From here, the team moves to the Day area of the Federal Capital Territory. This time, the raid is on street vendors of counterfeit drugs. One of the vendors was unlucky.
If anybody is sick, hospitals are around. They should visit the hospitals. They should stop patronizing workers. You can see most of the products we confiscated are just in the open, under the harsh condition of the weather, which drugs are not supposed to be sold. That is a special storage condition that is assigned to every pharmaceutical product so that its shelf life will be guaranteed and the efficacy and safety of that product will be guaranteed. But hawkers, they don't care about, of course, they don't even know what drug is in the first instance, talk less of caring about the storage condition or handling process.
NAFDAC plans to intensify the enforcement exercise in its effort to rid the nation of counterfeit and unwholesome products, while calling on Nigerians to desist from patronizing street hawkers. Victoria Longchan for Channels Television News.
In Zamfara State, parents of the abducted students of the Federal University of Gusau have staged a peaceful protest at the government house, demanding the unconditional release of their children after 72 days in captivity. 24 students of the university, 10 construction workers, a staff of the university and his daughter were kidnapped on September the 22nd this year in Sabongida, a community hosting the main campus of the university. However, 13 students and 3 construction workers have been rescued, while others are still in captivity. The protesters said the abductors have contacted some of them, and the only condition they gave was to have negotiation with the government. And that's all from our Abuja studios. It's back now to you, Coyote.
Well, thanks a lot, Mark. Let's now take you back to the COP28 Climate Summit in Dubai, where the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Kayode Egbetokun, has been speaking on the force's commitment to green initiatives. Well, this is coming against the backdrop of queries and questions around his participation at the summit. We'll take a listen to part of what he said.
The Nigerian Police Emission Reduction Program is a sustainable development program aimed at deploying green initiative solutions to support Nigerians' transition to low carbon economy, and also to boost the Nigerian police operational efficiency and capacity to fight crime and maintain law and order in Nigeria. We will be launching this program very soon. We have not fixed the date for the official launching, but we intend to officially launch this program in January of this year, in January of next year.
And now to company news. One of the largest container ro-ro vessels in the world, MV Great Lagos, has berthed at the Ports and Terminal Multi-Service Limited, PTML, Tinkan Island Port in Lagos. MV Great Lagos was received by top government officials and partners of PTML, a leading multi-purpose logistics hub in West Africa.
The arrival of this engineering masterpiece, the largest container ro-ro ship to visit Nigeria and the West African sub-region, is a milestone for PTML, a subsidiary of the Grimaldi Group. The ultra-modern mega ship berths here at the Tinkan Island Port Complex, Lagos, stretching 290 meters in length with a beam of 38 meters and dead weight of over 45,000 tons. The ship has the capacity to transport 4.7 kilometers of rolling freight, 2,500 car equivalent to units, and 2,000 containers in a voyage. The managing director of PTML said the new multipurpose megaship is a marvel of modern engineering and environmental consciousness, and its name symbolizes the depth and enduring connection with Grimaldi and Nigeria.
The arrival of Great Lagos, it's more than an addition to our fleet. It's a reaffirmation of our devotion to the Nigerian economy and to its vibrant economic capital, Lagos.
Accolades and words of support rolling from all sides of the room.
On behalf of the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, I want to sincerely appreciate, thank, and congratulate Grimaldi Group.
On behalf of the management and staff of the Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy, I express my gratitude to PTML and other stakeholders for their determination and cooperation that have resulted in actualizing this milestone.
Governor Sanwo-Olu, represented by the Deputy Governor Obafemi Hamzat, said the visit of the MV Great Lagos to Tinkan Island Port is an expression of confidence of the international community in Nigeria.
I would personally like to extend our heartfelt appreciation to the Grimaldi Group for their unwavering commitment to our state, to our country. The arrival of the great Lagos is a testimony to your confidence in our economy and potential of our people.
The guests at the event, led by the Lagos State Deputy Governor, took a tour of the mega ship.
58 meters high from the bottom line.
PTML prides itself as a leader of technological advancement and operational efficiency. With the largest multipurpose terminal in Nigeria, the company says it has invested over $20 million to upgrade its facilities to receive this massive ship, and will continue to do more in providing sustainable logistics solutions to the country.
Now, for those craving a hotel that could serve as an apartment or a home away from home, GTA Hotel has opened a new outlet in Amore Street off Toyin Street in the Ikeja area of Lagos. At the grand opening, the Chief Executive Officer of the hospitality business, Zadeyemi Abraham, says his goal is to bridge the gap in the industry and provide top-notch services that are affordable to all.
Welcome to the latest in the family of the GTA Hotel apartment, Amore Road, off Toyin Street, in the heart of Ikeja.
In Jesus' mighty name. Amen.
And this occasion signals the beginning of business operation. The site is alluring, warm and inviting. And according to the management, the concept and idea behind the GTA Hotel apartment is to revolutionize the hospitality business in Nigeria.
Come in and have the feeling of being a hotel, and as well as that feeling that you are at home, because it gives you the opportunity to do everything you have to do or you need to do even while at your own house.
Every room is tastefully furnished and fitted with a kitchenette. There are a lot more on offer, part of which is their unique selling point.
You have pool service, you have gym, you have spa, you have hall, you have banquet hall, you have boardroom for families and friends meeting. We also celebrate birthday parties, dinner parties, and a lot of things.
With the GTA Hotel apartment ready to host families, friends this Yuletide and beyond with pocket-friendly offers, the brain behind the business speaks on its inspiration.
I think sometimes ago I traveled to Dubai, and I was in a hotel where, I'm not really, satisfied with the kind of food I was served. So I begin to think in my head that, what if you have hotel and apartment at the same time? Hotel that will give you all the luxury hotel can give and more. So GT Hotel is actually home away from home. We offer you all the luxury hotel will give to you, and we give you, that freedom, ability to cook little thing on your own, ability to bring food in, ability to bring drinks in, ability to buy food from us, and if you cannot finish it, you can keep the remaining on the chiller and microwave them later.
So if Ikeja is your choice destination, the management of GTA Hotels, also known as God's Touch Apartment, says their door is widely open for business.
Well, we have more business news for you on the news at 10 with Anne Nwaodo.
Thank you, Kayode. Hello and welcome to Business News. Let's begin with good news for Nigeria, with the total trade in the third quarter jumping by 47% to nearly 18.8 trillion naira, up from 1.28 trillion naira recorded in the second quarter of this year. And this was largely driven by an increase in trade activities within the period. Let's talk about key highlights of the foreign trade in goods report, which was released today by the National Bureau of Statistics. Well, it shows that exports were valued at 10.3 trillion naira, while total imports stood at 8.45 trillion naira. And when you look at a brief analysis of that report, it shows that petroleum oil and obtained from minerals. Crude was Nigeria's most exported product, followed by liquefied natural gas and urea in the top 3 position. Africa needs a just, differentiated transition to enable it harness its resources for the benefit of its future generation. And that's according to the Group Chief Executive Officer of NNPCL Limited, Mr. Melek Kyari. He made this known today while speaking at a regional CEO panel organized by McKinsey & Company on the sidelines of the ongoing United Nations Conference on Climate Change, also known as COP28 conference in Dubai. He explains that with Nigeria projected to be among the global top 10 economies by the year 2035 and a third in terms of global population by the same year, the energy poverty question must be discussed as nations unite to achieve net zero by 2050. The Debt Management Office, the DMO, has offered 2 federal governments of Nigeria saving bonds for subscription at 1,000 naira per unit. And according to the statement released on its website, the first offer is a 2-year FGN savings bond, which is due on December the 13th, 2025, at an interest rate of 12.28% per annum. While the second offer is a 3-year FGN savings bond due on December the 13th, 2026, at an interest rate of 13.28% per annum. Both debt instrument opens today, December the 4th. It closes by Friday this week, while the settlement date is on December the 13th. And let's head to the international market. Gold prices have hit a new record high for a second day in a row, with the spot price touching $2,100 as global rush for bullion appears set to continue. The prices of the yellow metal have risen for 2 consecutive months now as Israeli-Palestinian conflict boosted demand for the safe haven asset, while expectations of interest rate cuts have provided further support. Analysts are saying the bullion prices are on course to hit fresh highs next year, and it could remain above the $2,000 level due to geopolitical uncertainty, likely weaker dollar, and a possible interest rate cut. We come back home now. Let's head to the domestic market. It began the first week in December in the red. The color is red today. Overall value dropped by more than 250 billion naira. Willie Bong has the details.
Welcome to the stock market report. The NGX made a not so dramatic move today, but that's typical of the market. The NGX All-Share Index hit a new high today, I must say, at intraday at over 71,500 points, bringing the year-to-date to about 48%. It's very close to breaking a new resistance level of 71,637, and the market might have ended in the green, but for last-minute sell-off in Boa Cement, which dragged the market down 0.06% into negative territory to close at 70,000 points. Now, too bad that FBN Holdings, which was top on the leaderboard today, nearly 10% up, could not offset that loss. But it, however, managed to prop up the banking counter, which was up 0.01% today. Oil and gas reversing the gains that we saw on Friday, down today 0.01%. Not a good start to the market, but we'll see how this moves. And we see consumer goods in the green, 0.06%, but boosted by gains in Cadbury. It's not all bad, though, not to be scared. Positive sentiments are still in the market in terms of market breadth, but more cautious trading for most investors and traders. The bears today, however, but maybe the market will rebound tomorrow. We'll keep watch. I'm Will Iban.
And that's business news for tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu. Kayode will be back with the rest of the news at 10.
Well, thank you, Anne. Israel has carried out intense airstrikes on Khan Yunis in southern Gaza, with residents describing it as the heaviest bombing of the war. But people in eastern areas of the city have been told by the Israeli military to evacuate farther to the south. Israel believes some Hamas leaders are in the city, where many civilians are sheltering after fleeing the north. Here's Simon Pusey with other international stories and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. The Israeli military says it's expanding its ground operation into all areas of the Gaza Strip following the resumption of fighting on Friday. It has this morning posted on social media a fresh order for people to evacuate about 20 areas of the Palestinian enclave. Its forces have been pushing further south amid warnings from humanitarian groups that Gazans are running out of places to flee.
We're pursuing Hamas wherever Hamas is hiding, in the north and in the south. Every rocket launcher, weapons depot, command and control center, senior commander, underground infrastructure, and any hideout where our hostages may be held. Our war is against Hamas, not against the people of Gaza.
The U.S. military has said a U.S. warship shot down 3 drones after 3 commercial vessels came under attack in the Red Sea. It said the USS Carney assisted the ships, which had links to 14 nations, including the UK, on Sunday, after they were targeted from areas of Yemen held by Iranian-backed Houthi rebels. 2 of the ships were hit by missiles, but there were no casualties. A Houthi spokesman said the group's navy had attacked 2 Israeli ships. 11 hikers have been found dead near the crater of Indonesia's Merapi volcano after it erupted over the weekend. 3 people were rescued on Monday. The search for 12 others missing has been suspended due to a small eruption. There were 75 hikers in the area at the time of the eruption, but most were safely evacuated. Mount Merapi, one of India's 127 active volcanoes, spewed ash as high as 3 kilometers into the air on Sunday. The mother of a man suspected of stabbing a German tourist to death near the Eiffel Tower in Paris reported concerns about her son weeks before the attack. 2 others, including a British man, were injured in the attack on Saturday. A 26-year-old French man was later arrested, and anti-terrorism prosecutors opened an investigation. France's interior minister said there was a failure in the alleged attacker's psychiatric treatment. Several African governments are defending their decision to send large delegations to the COP28 climate conference in Dubai amid widespread criticism. The UN's attendance list reveals that Nigeria, Morocco, Kenya, Tanzania, Ghana and Uganda were among the countries to send the biggest teams. Representatives of Nigeria and Kenya on Sunday said that many of the delegates on their lists were not publicly funded, as they were representing the media, civil society organizations and private institutions. Both countries also said that some of the listed delegates are participating remotely. Meanwhile, women and girls disproportionately bear the burden of climate events. That's according to Hillary Clinton, who added that gender equality can no longer be an afterthought. The former U.S. Secretary of State spoke during a panel on women's role in building a climate-resilient world.
Women and girls disproportionately bear the burden of climatic events. They are more likely to be affected by natural disasters, and particularly by extreme heat. Gender equality cannot any longer be an afterthought. Like, it'd be a nice thing to add on what we're doing on adaptation and mitigation. Well, let's figure out what to do about gender, because it has to be seen as it is, which is a central driving factor in whether or not we're going to meet our goals.
And children and adults have been delighted in Chile's capital at a Christmas Paris parade that paid tribute to the Walt Disney Company for its 100th anniversary. Crowds packed Santiago's main avenues to get a glimpse of giant balloons depicting iconic Disney characters such as Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck in the Paris parade. This was the 12th edition of the parade, which was cancelled during the COVID-19 pandemic. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. And now to sports news. The Super Falcons of Nigeria is confident of returning home from Praia, Cape Verde, with the 2024 Women's African Cup of Nations ticket. Nigeria will face the host on Tuesday at the Santiago Estadio Nacional, Cabo Verde, in what will be a mere formality for the nighttime champions, who already enjoy a 5-0 advantage from the first leg played at the MKO Abiola Stadium. The game is scheduled for 6 p.m. Nigerian time. Manchester City have been charged by the English Football Association over their players' behaviour in the final moments of their 3-3 draw against Tottenham on Simon Hooper after he failed to play advantage in the closing moments of a thrilling English Premier League clash at the Etihad Stadium. Haaland was fouled but shrugged off the challenge from Emerson Royal to play Jack Grealish through on goal, only for Hooper to pull play back to award the host a free kick, having apparently already waved play on. And Mikel Arteta says the English Premier League has gone another level up from last season as the league leader seeks to open up a 5-point lead at the top of the table at lowly Luton on Tuesday. The Gunners, who beat Wolves 2-1 on Saturday, are 2 points clear of second-place Liverpool and 3 ahead of champions Manchester City after the weekend games, with neither of those teams in action until Wednesday. Arteta's men topped the table for much of last season but faltered down the home stretch and were overtaken by Pep Guardiola's relentless City side. There is no plan B for the opening ceremony of the Paris 2024 Olympic Summer Games, according to French sports minister, after a man armed with a knife and hammer killed a German tourist and left 2 people wounded near the Eiffel Tower on Saturday. The attack occurred at the Quai de Grenelle, a spot also included in the plans for the opening ceremony. France has been on high alert since raising its security threshold in October when a Chechen origin man with a knife killed a teacher in a school in northern France. That's it on sports. It's back to you, Coyote.
Well, thanks a lot, Chris. And the main news again. An unconfirmed number of people have been reported killed in Sunday's airstrike on Tudumbiri village in the Igabi local government area of Kaduna State, but sources in the community put the death toll at over 80, just as the state government said the army has claimed responsibility for the incident. Well, that's the news at 10 for tonight, everyone. Thank you for watching. I'm Coyote Kikulu. Good night.